What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. In this video, we are talking about tight end Mark Andrews for the Baltimore Ravens, the leading receiver for this team, for what it is, and giving you guys an outlook of what we can reasonably expect to see in 2020. Hit that subscribe button for more videos like this, and let's get right into it. So last year, we were very bullish on Mark Andrews. Were targeting him in the later rounds, but he was one of our favorite late round targets, and that turned out to be a really good move. Finished with 64 receptions, 852 receiving yards, and 10 total touchdowns. They benched him in week 17 to give him rest, along with most of the other starters in Baltimore. Finishes with over 200 fantasy points, which for a tight end is great. Finishes fifth at the position and 13.8 fantasy points per game. But for a guy that you got in the double digit rounds, could not have asked for a better season. Had 4 weeks where he finished as a top three tight end. He did have 3 down weeks, so there was a little bit of boom bust nature to his game. 3 weeks where he didn't even finish as a tight end two, and a couple other weeks where he didn't finish as a tight end one. But for the most part, pretty consistent, and that touchdown floor was really helping to sustain him. Now, the weird thing about Mark Andrews and what was happening all year was there was a constant debate of when do you need to sell Mark Andrews, because he wasn't getting the snap share that people were expecting. They were just looking at that one metric because he didn't play a lot of snaps. The thing was, though, when he was on the field and he was actually taking snaps, he was running routes and getting targeted on a lot of those snaps. So while the snap share was lower, it didn't really matter because they were still using him predominantly as a receiver, and that's what you want for fantasy, right? Now, this year is going to be really crazy to try to project what the Ravens offense is going to look like. You have to expect there to be some regression in the touchdown passing department, at least from a touchdown rate, but we're also expecting the Ravens to have to throw the ball a bit more because the a lack of passing they had to do last year in favor of the run, like it can't be sustainable, I don't think. So there's probably going to be more passing, and they don't have Hayden Hurst anymore. Although Hayden Hurst wasn't massively involved, he still had a decent bit of usage in the passing game. So Mark Andrews could see more work in 2020 than he did in 2019. But it's also coming at the price of having to pay a top three tight end price for him. Right now, his ADP, typically you'd have to spend a third round pick for him. If he drops to the fourth or fifth, he becomes a little more interesting to me. I just have yet to be able to pull the trigger on him in any drafts that I've done because there's so many good receivers in the third and fourth round. It's really hard for me to pass up on the receivers and take a tight end. But I don't hate it. I do think Mark Andrews will have a really solid year this year. Plenty of stats to promote that as well. Like I said, even though his snap share was crap, he finished with a 43.2% snap share, which was 67th amongst tight ends. He had a 24.1% target share for tight end for his team when he was playing. So number three among tight ends, number one among tight ends for the most deep targets at 20, a 79% true catch rate, not the greatest, but still not terrible, and a 15.6 touchdown rate. Now that is the one thing, the one potential downside to Mark Andrews. So obviously we still expect him to be used heavily in the passing department, especially in the red zone. And like if there's anyone that you can project to probably hit 10 touchdowns again, I think Mark Andrews is your guy. They don't really have any other big targets in the red zone other than throwing it to the running back. They don't have any massive typical alpha type receivers. I mean, their wide receiver one, Marquise Brown, isn't even 170 pounds. So Mark Andrews is going to be the predominant red zone threat outside of the run game, which obviously most of the touchdowns will probably come through the run game again, but still, Mark Andrews will likely see a massive workload in the red zone again. So, for the most part, when I see a receiver or someone with a touchdown rate of 15% or higher, I'd probably say that is most certainly going to come down, and it might, but I don't think that will lower the amount of touchdowns that he gets. Touchdowns can be very hard to project, especially trying to look at a whole season because things change, especially as the year goes on, but I feel like that's a pretty safe bet for Mark Andrews this year to come close to hitting 10, if not hitting 10 exactly again. Finished with an average target distance of 11.8, which is number one amongst tight ends, and 3.69 yards per pass route. Again, those deep targets really helping him out a lot. We have him right now projected at 66 receptions and 881 receiving yards and 8 total touchdowns. Give him a little bit of regression just because touchdowns are hard to project, but again, not be surprised at all if he hits 10. That gives him 202.5 fantasy points, and that would put him as the tight end 3, exactly where we're expecting him to finish. I do think there is a tier break between George Kittle and Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews just based on the running nature of the Ravens. But I don't really know that it would surprise me too much if Mark Andrews ended up finishing up there in that tier. And if that's the case, he's going at a value, getting him in the third, end of the third, beginning of the fourth round, because those other guys you're typically having to spend a late second, early third. So from a price standpoint, based on if you're doing a snake draft, you might not have the opportunity to take a guy like George Kittle or Travis Kelce because you don't find the value there. But getting Mark Andrews might end up being a good value pick for you. I still see there as being a tier gap between those guys. So for that reason, I'm probably not going to end up with Mark Andrews on any of my teams. But love him as a player. Love him as a guy. If you have him in like a keeper league and you can keep him for like a 10th round pick, fantastic. Definitely do that. So he's going to win a lot of people fantasy games this year. And yeah, that's pretty much all there really is to say about Mark Andrews. Really like him a lot this year. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hit that subscribe button for more videos like this one, and we'll see you guys in the next one.